Hi everyone, welcome back to Factorio 1.0, part 2 of this tutorial series. We left off yesterday with some basic science automation, which is running along just fine. We're about done with logistics. What I'd like to do next is automate the production of these iron and copper plates. Iron in particular is the first one I'd like to get to. Because it's getting a little tiresome to have to constantly feed coal to these things and come over and pick them up, right? So let's get ready to do that. Now, in order to automate the production of the plates, we also have to automate the mining of the ore. Okay, logistics is finished. Let's pick our next research. I think I will take turrets next. So let's get that going. So to automate the mining, we need electric mining drills. Now, if you look at the mining speed, 0.5 per second down there on the tooltips. First of all, let's queue up 5, 10, 15, 20. We'll queue up 25 of them to start with. We're going to need quite a few of these before the game's over, so don't be afraid to make a bunch all at once. So once you have these in hand, these can be rotated whichever way you want, and they'll turn green once they're within range of a mineral patch. Okay, and then you plop them down. They do require power, electricity, and you can see the mining speed 0.5 per second. So that means that these will deliver essentially 1 bit of ore every 2 seconds, right? And then we're gonna place these onto transport belts, which I'll start to craft a bunch of as well. Let's get some more ammo. Let's get some more gears. Let's get some more copper wire. Let's keep all this stuff moving along. Now you'll see that this furnace has stopped making plates because status, no mineable resources. That mining drill has already sucked up everything that's underneath. You keep seeing that this cannot connect rolling stock because I'm hitting the G key accidentally instead of the F key when I want to pick something up off the ground. So don't worry about that. That's my mistake. So what I'll do is I'll just place another mining drill over here where I've got some ore, and we'll give that some coal so that we can keep the production going. Alright, turrets are done. Let's do optics. That will give us lamps, which will help light the base when it's dark outside. Okay. Alright, so now we get some transport belts. We're going to need a lot of these as well. These take a gear and a plate each, and you get 2 belts each time. Okay, so you need a lot of gears. So we'll just handcraft a bunch of those. Now if you put a belt down, you can see that the belt speed is 15 items per second. That's how much it can move. Now, one thing that's not immediately obvious is that the belt actually has 2 lanes. It has 2 sides. So to get 15 a second, you have to have both sides filled. Right? I could show you that just by using my Z key to drop things on the belt. See, there's side 1 and there's side 2. So 15 a second is for when both sides are completely full. So what that essentially means is that you can load each side of the belt with 7.5 items per second. Okay? So if one of these mining drills gives me half an item per second, then that means I can completely fill a yellow belt with ore by having 15 mining drills on each side of the belt. That'll give me 7.5 per second on each side of the belt. Okay, optics are done. Let's see. What do I want next? Electronics. Let's do steel processing. See, and I'm already getting to a point where I'm researching stuff that I'm not even really ready to use yet, but that's fine. Let's just keep it going. once you get the first few done, the order doesn't matter a whole lot. Okay, if you do your research in a different order than what I'm doing, eventually you'll be fine. Okay, so we want 15 mining drills per side, so that means that we need 30 total in order to completely fill one yellow belt with iron ore, for example. Okay, so we're going to have to craft some more of those guys. I've got 24, 25, 30. Okay, and then I'm also going to craft, let's do like another 10, because we're going to need to feed coal to the line as well. Okay, and then we're also going to need a bunch of inserters and stuff like that. We'll get to it. Okay, and now I'm really starting to eat through the iron plate. So, all right, so let's figure out a way that we can set up 15 per side. And this patch is not very big, so we might not be able to do it all in one neat row. One thing you need to pay attention to is that the mining drill has an area. The mineable area extends for one tile beyond the edge of the mining drill itself that you can see by that green square. So when you're placing it, for example, if I were to place it right here, you can see that part of that area is over the copper. So if I only want to mine iron with this mining drill, I have to make sure that the edge of that green square is not over the copper, right? So this will be kind of like the lower limit of where I want to place it. Later on, when things start to mine out, you know, we can put another drill here, and we can do things to filter out mixed ores later on. But for now, I'm just going to make sure that I stay clear of the copper. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so that's about all we're going to get on that row. Let's see, that will pick up some copper. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put my transport belts on my number 1 key. So what I'll do in this case is I'll run my belt like this. Okay, and that'll give me 15 on the bottom side of this belt. And then we do the same thing on the top. While I'm doing this, I'm going to start crafting inserters. We're going to need a lot of those. We will need, let's see, 48. We're going to need about 100 of those yellow inserters to get this going properly. Let's get some coal. I'll just feed it a whole stack. I'm starting to get a lot of coal built up here. Okay, yeah, so I'm just gonna shift and left click, and that way I'll just start crafting as many inserters as I have material for, which is 97. That'll get us close to what we need. And then I'm out of iron plate, so let's grab more iron plate. I don't even have a full stack, so I'll just put half of it to get some more gears, and then as always, I'm going to start crafting cables. Okay, so let's start arranging our other 15 for the other side of the belt. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and then for the other side, I'll just come up like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or no, I only need 3 more. There we go. And then for these, I'll just come down like this. And so these will go onto this belt, and then they'll feed onto the side of this one. All right, so when this belt comes out of here, it should be completely full of iron ore. Okay, so now we just have to provide it power. I need more power poles. And those are going to have to wait until all these inserters get done crafting. But we can see that we're starting to mine already. grab some more coal. Now adding all these mining drills is going to start consuming a lot more power. These consume 90 kilowatts each. So with 30, that's, what is it? That's 2.7 kilowatts. Am I doing that right? So we should probably add some more power generation as well. Let's check. Yeah, we need to load in some more coal here. It's starting to run low. So let's craft ourselves another boiler and 2 more steam engines. And 1 more burner inserter, and I need more wood for another wooden box. Okay. And then we just gotta wait for our queue to finish. Which in the early game is not uncommon. All right, so for our next boiler, we can just connect it directly to the boiler below it. The water will pass through from one side to the other. One offshore pump can provide enough water to feed 20 boilers. So eventually this line is going to be 20 boilers long with 40 steam engines. And that'll give us 1.8, 18 megawatts. Okay, so we'll put another box. We'll put another inserter. We'll feed it some coal. Right, you can see that the first couple pieces of coal the burner inserter uses to feed itself. All right, and now we just doubled our electric capacity. Pretty easy. All right. I'm going to start crafting more transport belts, because we're going to need a lot more of those. Let's get some more iron. Let's get more coal. Things will get a lot easier once we get this iron automated. Okay, so now I'm just gonna hold down my mouse button and run with the power poles. So that'll feed all those mining drills. Down here, it gets a little bit trickier. Yeah, in fact, maybe it even gets a lot trickier. Let's see if I can move this one over, because I need to power these mining drills, and I didn't leave a lot of space. This is no good. Whoops. Ugh. Like I said, I'm a little rusty with the controls. I'll get there. Be patient with me. Alright, so here, let's do this. Let's move that one over. I can put a power pole there. I can put one there. There we go. Now they're all powered up. Okay, so that'll give us a full belt. Let me show you how these lamps work. I'll craft a couple lamps. And we could stick one right there. Oh, much better. I'll put one over there. What a joy that is, huh? Okay, so I'm kind of running low on iron. So I'll just put in one stack, and then I'll control right click. Whoops. No. One stack, and then control right click and take half of it back out. Maintaining that 2-to-1 ratio that I'm so fond of. Okay. Now this one is no longer running because this drill has mined itself out. So what I'll do is I'll just rotate this, and then I'll just add 2 more back at the top, and then I'll keep our coal doing its thing. Okay, so now we have to decide where to put the iron smelting line. the automated version of it. So if we look at our map, I think we could put our smelting line right here. Okay, running from left to right. And I'm going to leave lots of space because eventually I'm going to want like 4 lines of iron and 4 lines of copper. That's my long-term, well, my midterm goal, let's say. I may eventually run into this body of water up here, but it's not too big, and later on we'll unlock the ability to landfill water so that we can build over top of it. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. So I'm going to start with my first iron line right over here. We should have enough room there. Let's grab some gears because I'm probably going to need more belts. I'm definitely going to need a lot of furnaces. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So I'm going to craft 50 furnaces. And I'll explain why shortly. All right, so we're going to start with a belt. And I'm going to take some of my stone furnaces. And how do I want to lay this out? Do I want to do the compact way or the easier way? Let's do the compact way. All right, so I'm going to put down a line of a bunch of these furnaces. Now, if we look at the furnace, the crafting speed is 1. And if I go over here, I can see that it takes 3.2 seconds to make an iron plate. We multiply that by the 1 crafting speed of the building, and that means we'll get 1 iron plate every 3.2 seconds from one of these furnaces. And we know that we can fill one side of a belt with iron plates with 7.5 per second. Okay, so if we take 1 divided by 3.2, that means we'll get 1 iron plate. Well, it's 0.3125 iron plates per second, right? So if we take 7.5 divided by 0.3125, that's 24. That means 24 furnaces will fill one side of a belt. So I'm going to make my smelting line to have 24 furnaces on each side of my output belt. And the reason I just do it with one side is because when we place our inserters in, inserters will only output onto one side of a belt, the far side more specifically. Okay, so we're going to have furnaces on this side putting iron plate onto the top side of the belt, and then we'll have furnaces on the other side putting iron plate onto the bottom side of the belt. Okay, that's how that's going to work. So let's do something here. Whoops. First, let's put some belts there. Let's place inserters. All right, so it'll look something like this. I'll have coal and iron ore on this belt, coal and iron ore on this belt. Those will get fed into the furnaces, and then iron plates will come out onto this belt in the center. Okay, now I'm going to hit Control C. I'll select that. Okay, and that's 2 per side. We need 24 per side, so I'm going to copy this 12 times. Actually, let's do something else. Let's click here to make a new blueprint. You might not be able to see this though. However, if you hit Alt-B, you should be able to still get the same functionality, even if you don't see these buttons. I think you only see these buttons by default when you've researched robotics for the first time in your life. So if you haven't done that, you might not see these buttons. In that case, just hit Alt-B to create a new blueprint. Okay, and then copy this. and then that'll show a preview of your blueprint. And here I'm going to click on Snap to Grid, Grid Size. And that way I'll be able to drag it and multiply this blueprint several times. So then we'll click Create Blueprint, and now we have a blueprint in our hand, right? And it should be tileable. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, grid size, snap to grid. Okay, so now when I click and move with it, it'll copy itself like that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so that should be 24 on each side. Now, if I didn't do the grid size, then I can place it anywhere. If I didn't do the grid size, then dragging it gives you a very different result. So now we can right click and drag to get rid of all those ghost entities, or you can use the deconstruction planner, or Alt D if you don't see it yet. You can use that to erase things. So in this case, I'm going to erase that last little bit of belt, because we don't need to belt things beyond the last set of inserters. And then I can use this as a guide to build it. Right, this shows me where all my buildings go, and I can just plop them down on top. Now later on in the game, when I have access to bots, doing this will essentially command the construction bots to start building it for you. And that's very nice. Okay, but for now we're going to have to do this manually, and we're just using the blueprint as a guide. Okay, I don't need this belt because there's no inserter there anyway. And very shortly I'll show you how we get iron and coal to be on opposite sides of the same belt, or to share a belt. I'm going to start crafting as many belts as I can once again. Okay, and this is why I needed so many inserters. So this line with 48 furnaces total will consume 1 full belt of iron ore. So that's why we're building in these quantities. 30 mining drills into 48 furnaces. Okay. So there that is. Let's go get some more iron plates, more gears and things. Yeah. And we'll very shortly here have a fully functioning smelting line. Okay, now let's use our other 10 mining drills to start automatically mining coal. So I'm going to pick up all these burner mining drills. We'll thank them for their service, and we're never going to use them again. Okay, so I've got 10. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just do 5 aside. We don't yet need a full belt of coal. Eventually we'll need more and more coal, but you know, we don't consume coal at the same rate that we consume the iron ore, so we don't have to beef up our coal production quite as much. All right, so let's get some power brought up to these mining drills. In this case, I'm going to have to deviate from my perfect right angles a little bit. Okay, whoops. We'll put one there. There we go. And let's check our power consumption. I'm just clicking on the power pole. So now we're using 1.2 megawatts. Okay, so now let's run these belts for now, we just want to get close to where the smelting line is. All right. In this case, I'm going to need to get around this cliff. Whoops. Let's pick that up. Pro tip, if you stand on the belt and run on it, you'll get some extra speed. Okay. I need more gears, please. And more copper cables. I'm comfortable with 85 rounds of ammo right now. Or 85 magazines, I should say. Okay, so now I've got to split this iron in two again and get half of it on this belt and half of it on this belt. So here's the way I like to do it. I'm going to make 2 splitters, and I'm going to make 1 underground belt. Okay, and I like to put splitters as number 2 and underground belts as number 3. That's just my preference. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 splitter there. Whoops. And now let's move this over by a tile. Yeah. All right. Leave 1 tile space from the first furnace, and then I'm going to have 2 splitters facing into one another. Before I do that, let me just show you real quick what the splitters do. So splitters will send half of a belt down one side and half down the other side. Okay, normally they will maintain whichever side they come in on, right, as you can see. So if they're coming in on both sides, they're going to go out on both sides. There is an exception to that, though. If I have a belt, for example, that goes like that, then everything will come out on one side, no matter which side I load it on, as we can see there. Okay. And one way I can force that to happen is if I have another splitter on facing in the other direction. That'll force these belts to side load instead of being continuous. And this is the trick. So when I talk about side loading, here, let me grab this again. Oops. Like I said, rusty on the controls. Okay. So normally, this is normal splitter operation. Okay, there's no side loading. It just passes through. It splits half to one side and half to the other side using both sides of the belt. Now, if I were to put a belt here, now this splitter is only going to load onto one side of the belt, as you can see there. Okay, because it's not coming straight out from the splitter. And if I remove that, now it's two-sided again. Okay, and placing a splitter does the same thing. Okay, so this is how we're going to put coal and iron both onto the same belt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my iron and actually let's feed it to the bottom part of my input splitter. Okay, and one full belt with two sides is now being split half on one side of this belt and half on one side of this belt. So we still have two sides of a yellow belt being fully saturated. It's just now going in two directions. Now I want to get coal on the other side, and that's what this splitter is for. But to get to that splitter, I need to jump across this belt. So that's why I have an underground. That'll go there. And then we just loop it around and go into that splitter. So this is going to be, this line is going to be for coal. And then I need to power all this. But let's just see what happens first when the coal comes in. Any second now. Okay, so now it's going to jump across. Okay, and now I have coal and iron ore feeding all of these furnaces. And as soon as I give some electricity to these inserters, it'll actually start working. So let's do that now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and then I'm just going to drag down. Now, one thing you'll notice when I'm clicking and dragging this time is that these are not going, like between this pole and this pole, it's going maximum distance. But between this pole and this pole, it's not. And the reason it's not is because when you click and drag and you have entities that require power, the game is smart enough to plop down power poles at the maximum distance that it can use while still providing power to everything along your path. Right? So that's why in this case we have a pattern that looks like this. Okay, so it's not maximum distance every time anymore, but it's the maximum distance you can have while still providing power to all of this. And then we just repeat the same pattern here on the bottom. So we need 3 rows of power poles to get all of these inserters powered up. The ones in the middle will cover both sides of the belt, but on the other side we have to repeat the pattern. And I'm out of power poles again. There. So, look at that. Now we're making gobs of plates. Whereas before we were kind of depending on 6 furnaces, now we got 48 furnaces. So we're making, what is that, 8 times as many plates now? Which is very nice. So let's go over here. I'm going to make 4 iron chests. Iron chests hold more than a wooden chest does. You can see this has a larger capacity. And then I'll put 4 inserters right there. And that way, when I need more iron, I can just come down here and right click and drag and pull them right out of the box. Okay, now these stack in hundreds. I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 32 slots in here. That's 3,200 iron plates in each one of these chests. Maybe I don't need to store that much, especially if it's for my personal use. So one thing we can do is we can use this to limit how much the chest can hold. So I'm going to limit that to hold 4 stacks in each chest. And once I've done it to 1, I can shift right click and then shift left click the other chests, and that'll copy the settings. All right, so this way when I come over here, I can go like that, and at the most I'll pick up 16 stacks of iron, which is quite a lot. Okay, now I have a bunch of iron ore in my inventory. I can't use iron ore myself, right? I can't make plates by hand. You need a furnace for that. So in this case, I'm just gonna control right click and stick them into the furnaces. Okay, and now I've got lots and lots of iron plates that I can use to make more gears and more belts. Okay, now, I need to pick some more research, but since I just put in that iron line, we can improve our little basic automation system here quite a bit by feeding these machines directly from the line, and that way we don't have to keep loading them manually. I can also pick this up now because I don't need this anymore, because I have a much better way to do it now. Okay, and let's start crafting some more belts. Okay, so I'm going to extend this down a little bit. Let's queue up a few more crafting machines as well. All right, so now I'm going to start doing this. So let's make some ammunition. Let's make some gears. Actually, let's have 2 machines making gears. So I'm going to go shift right click, shift left click. That'll copy my recipe. Let's throw in a light so I can see better. And this one is going to make belts. Okay. And I'm going to craft another couple handfuls of iron chests. And let's make a few more inserters as well. Okay. So we power this up. Okay, so now I can make ammunition automatically. Let's limit this to let's make it 2 stacks. Okay, we're going to upgrade ammunition fairly soon, so I don't want to go crazy with making this early game ammo. What happened to my mining? Would you look at that? I no longer have enough power. I ran out of fuel. Okay, well, we can fix that. Let's make another splitter and another underground belt. Now this time I'm going to put my splitter right here on the coal line. And then I'll put my underground belt on one side. So now half of my coal is going to go to my smelting line. And I'm going to bring the other half down to where my power plant is. I hope I left enough room for 20 of these things. My number one tip for people who are new to the game is that when you are building your factory, leave yourself lots of room to expand. Yeah, see, we're out of power down here. But we'll fix that as soon as this coal gets down there. See, my drills were unpowered. I could tell because I no longer had a full belt of iron ore, and that's because my miners were starting to run low on power. They slowed down. And now we have a classic situation where I have no electricity. I can't even mine coal to make more electricity because I don't have any electricity. That is one of the big advantages to using burner mining drills on your power line, because that way, as soon as you get some fuel down here, even if there's no electricity, you'll still be able to put it into your boilers. Okay, and we're still going over the limit now. So let's create a single pipe. I'm going to put that there, and then let's make 2 more boilers and 1, 2, 3, 4 more steam engines and 2 more burner inserters. Now, the reason I put that one little segment of pipe there is so that I have room for my power pole in between each set of 4 boilers. Like that. All right. I haven't crafted those yet. Okay, there we go. Now we have 7.7 megawatts available, and we're using a little over 4. So You can see how power can shut down your base really quick. So my suggestion is, well, number one, leave yourself lots of room. Number two, check your power frequently. Every time you expand significantly, check your power consumption and make sure that you keep your power plant ahead of the curve so that you don't brown out like I just did. It's unpleasant. Okay, so we're making ammo automatically, which is great. I'm making gears automatically, so now I can just grab a stack of gears every once in a while. We'll limit this to, let's say, 2 stacks of gears. And then over here, I'm making belts automatically, because we're going to need lots and lots of belts. Again, 1 plate and 1 gear makes 2 belts. So that's why I've got the gear machine feeding into the belt machine. And then I have 2 inserters coming out since it makes 2 at a time. Right, so these I will limit to 2 stacks each. That way I can pick up to 4 stacks of belts at a time. I find that that's generally enough to keep me busy until I make another 4 stacks. And then here we're also accumulating iron plates just to have in my inventory for handcrafting stuff. Now you'll notice here that my assemblers are sitting idle because I'm not feeding them iron plates fast enough. So we can fix that by just putting more inserters on it. Now this one is nearly running nonstop. It's fast enough for me. This one has a ½ second crafting time for a gear versus 1 second for a magazine. And we need 2 plates every ½ second to keep this running. But you also notice that the assembly machine 1 has a crafting speed of 0.5. That means that it actually takes twice as long as what it says here to make this. So this says 0.5 seconds, but because I only have a crafting speed of 0.5 on the machine itself, it takes twice as long. So it's actually 1 gear per second. Yellow inserters in general can only move about 1 item per second. So to keep this running at full speed, I need 2 inserters. 2 inserters on the input. I only need 1 inserter on the output because I'm only making 1 gear at a time. Okay, and we can do the same thing here. Okay, and now we're making lots of useful stuff. Now let's keep our signs rolling. So we don't have copper yet, but let's see. We'll put this machine here. This will be for our science packs. Whoops, I'll feed that into my 2 labs. You can have them feed one into the other, or you could have this machine feed into 2 labs. It doesn't matter. Either way works. And then I'll also need a chest to hold copper plates, right? Because we haven't automated copper plates yet, but we'll do that soon. Okay, let's pick our next research. Let's do the steel axe next. This will allow us to chop down trees and mine rocks and things like that more quickly. Also, picking up buildings and things that we've placed on the ground is faster when you have the steel axe. Okay, so now we're good to go. Now this is going to take gears from my personal stash here, but it's not going to use them as fast as the gears are being made, so I'll still accumulate some in the chest here so that I can come and resupply myself when I want more gears. Right. And I'm going to get rid of some of this extra coal. And yeah, looking good. So we're kind of stepping up our automation game here. Now you can see all of these mining drills are no longer operating because my belt is completely full, and they won't run if there's no place to output. This is fine. As long as the belt stays full, it's okay. And the reason the belt is backed up is because my belt of iron plate is backed up. So all my furnaces are not producing. The furnaces will accumulate a full stack of plates inside them. So another way that you can grab iron plates is just to, grab them out of the furnace like we were doing earlier. Or you can grab them out of your chests. It doesn't matter. You don't even really have to put them in chests if you don't want to. This builds up a little bit of a buffer, and later on we can empty out of the buffer onto the belt if we start to run low. But for now, this has given us some of what we need to continue to build and expand. I'm actually going to put. Let's do another little bit of automation here. Something that's going to help us quite a bit, and that is to automate these green circuits. Okay. So I'll put a chest here to hold copper plate. Let's craft a few more inserters. So when we get green circuits automated, then that is going to speed up our handcrafts quite a bit too. Now in this case, I get 2 copper cables for every 1 copper plate. So in this case, I want 1 inserter going in and 2 inserters coming out. And then this also takes an iron plate. And then we'll dump that into a chest up here. And I'll limit that to, let's say, 4 stacks. Now, 1 circuit takes 3 copper cables. Right, so we actually need 1.5 cycles of this machine to get one circuit out. So this is not going to run at full speed unless I have another machine making copper cables on the other side. Yeah, why not? Let's do that. And then in this case, this will give me actually 1 more copper cable per cycle than I need for the circuits. So in this case, I'll have 1 inserter going into this machine, and then I'll have another going into this chest so that I can keep up my own personal supply of copper cables, because I want those for power poles and such. But let's not be short-sighted here. If I need them for power poles, let's just automate the power poles. More inserters, more assembly machines, more chests. Okay, so let's have this one make power poles. And we'll put wood in that chest after we collect some. See, this will be faster once Steel Axe is done researching. But let's just collect a couple stacks of wood. I'm just holding down my right mouse button and just moving around from tree to tree. It's kind of the fastest way to do this. Later on, when we get robots, clearing trees is much, much faster. Because the bots can essentially pick up the tree immediately. They don't have to, quote-unquote, mine it like we're doing. Okay, so we got a couple stacks of wood now. I'll put that in this chest. And now we're making power poles. Let's craft a few more lights so we can see what's going on. All right. So we got a nice little starter factory here that'll give us the supplies that we need to continue building the rest of the factory, which is a big part of what we're going to be doing at the beginning, is just building the supplies that we need to keep building more, right? So that's fun. Oh, one other thing real quick. This is coal. Power, having electricity for my base is more important than making iron plates. Because if I don't have power, I can't make plates anyway. So if my belt full of coal ever starts to run low, I want to make sure that the belt going to my power plant is prioritized over this belt. And we can do that by clicking on this splitter and enabling the output priority, in this case to the right side of the belt. It's the right side in the direction of travel. Okay, so this way what'll happen is if this side of the belt was empty, for example, oh, well, it's not going to empty out because I've got plenty here. All right, difficult to demonstrate. No, we can do it. We can do it. I'm just holding down the F key. I'm just going to drain these belts. Okay, so there's nothing on these belts now. Now watch what happens when I reestablish the supply. Now it's all going to go down here until this belt is completely full. And at that point, it'll start going down the other side because our output priority is set. Okay, so I always do that for my power generation when I'm sharing this belt with my smelting. And you should too. Okay, well, that'll do it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.